Nobody's paying attention. Let me ask you this. If you are a veteran or active duty or care about our military, how come nobody is talking about the fact that Trump just sold our military, essentially, to the highest bidder, whatever? He just sold our soldiers for $500 million. To who, you ask? To Saudi Arabia, our new BFF. You remember Saudi Arabia, the one that beheads women in the street, or apostates that leave Islam, stone women. The one that, if we go by the actual story, the one that, 16 out of the 19 terrorists were from Saudi Arabia from 9/11? But yet they are our BFF. And they have sold our military to go protect Saudi Arabia. While leaving their homes, their kids, our homeland unprotected, and go deploy out there for what? For Saudi Arabia? We're protecting Saudi Arabia? And yet Venezuela is our enemy. The only sovereign Christian nation still standing without a Rothschild bank. Venezuela. They're terror. They're a hop, skip, and a jump away. All you had to do was apologize. That's all you had to do. But they won't do that. That's all we had to do was share the information. Get people to actually see that, oh wait, this isn't actually socialism. This is just people working together like preppers do. That's Venezuela. Because that's what Christians do in time of need. In time of despair. In times where the DC and Israeli globalists, Russia, China are all secretly working together in the background. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to put the video at the end to show you how dangerous this is. How this is going to be on a global scale. What Israel and China and Russia has done, along with Iran. But instead of making peace with the people just south of us, he sells our military to the highest bidder, Saudi Arabia. What's wrong with you people? How are you not speaking up about this? How are you still supporting him? Is this okay? Is this where our soldiers should be? Fighting for Saudi Arabia? I question your mental status at this point. I've tried to stay quiet about this. Yeah, I voted for Trump, but you know what? I didn't stay blind. I didn't say, oh, well, let me not look at anything bad and let me support him to my death. No, I saw, wait, he's not really doing what he said he was going to do. He's not pulling our soldiers out. They're not coming home. We're continuing to go into countries. And the status quo stays the status quo. This is beyond insane. But let's go to Virginia for our Second Amendment that will be taken away by some robots or something that Israel's creating with their smart city gulags. It's amazing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the article. Saudi Arabia has paid $500 million toward the cost of U.S. troops in country. U.S. to deploy an additional 1,800 troops to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has paid the U.S. approximately $500 million to begin to cover the cost of U.S. troops operating in country. What are they? Mercenaries now? Contract soldiers? The payment was made in December last year. President Trump asserted last week in an interview on Fox that Saudi Arabia has already deposited $1 billion in the bank. Earlier this week, the Pentagon could not confirm. This is disgusting, y'all. Yeah, back in the 90s, they spent $36 billion towards that war. Yeah, that went real well, right? Gulf War syndrome. Didn't seem to go so well. Oh, but we got the oil, right? This is ridiculous. Consistent with the president's guidance to increase partner burden sharing. They're not our partners. It's Saudi freaking Arabia. Yes, let's be upset because Venezuela is socialist, kind of, rather than this kingdom that does the most horrific things imaginable. If you think Trump's a Christian, you are blind. I waited a few days to put this out, but it still angers me when I see it. And it should anger every single one of you. The Saudi government has agreed to help underwrite the cost of these activities and has made the first contribution, says Commander blah 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 from the Pentagon. So the Pentagon did confirm it. What? Discussions are ongoing to formalize a mechanism for future contributions. Contributions. That's not what our military is for. They don't go to the highest bidder. Remember the Saudi officer that killed some of our pilot training guys at the at Pensacola? Yeah, they're our friends. Close friends. The Saudi funds are to cover the overall cost of deploying soldiers as well as fighter jets and a Patriot missile defense batteries to protect Saudi oil. So our soldiers are now openly, I mean, we've kind of known this for a while, but they're openly security for oil. To protect from Iran. Really? Yeah, because they're really capable. Get real. The Saudi embassy in Washington did not respond. I wonder why, because they don't want this information really all that public. Because I would hope that people in the military would be angry about this. Department of Defense has deployed U.S. military forces to the region to enhance U.S. defenses and augment Saudi air and missile defense of critical military and civilian infrastructure. Oil. So they're going to send our soldiers out there to get killed over oil. They're openly saying it. And nobody's saying a damn thing.
Anybody in here a person of faith?
Years before he became president, out of the blue, Donald Trump called Paula White Kane. He said she had the it factor. Now the two pray together in the Oval Office. It's the latest stop in Paula's unlikely journey.
How I even got involved, because one thing I said, I'll never do politics. But when it came down to it, it wasn't about doing politics. It was about an assignment to say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. No to President Trump would be saying no to God.
I've turned down so much money I feel so foolish. I feel so foolish. You know, my whole life has been a life of accumulation. Money, money, I want more money. I don't even know why. You know, it's like, just keep going. Money, money. I want to build more buildings. Many, many buildings along Miami. I want to build more. And I say sometimes it's been greedy. I want to be greedy, greedy. Now I want to be greedy for the United States of America. I'm going to be greedy.
Saying it become all about mansions, planes, money, and fame. Another detractor says everything she does is a total act, and it's all about money.
And in 2007, White's church was investigated by the Senate over its outrageous expenditures and her lavish lifestyle.
Senator Charles Grassley again asked 4 high-profile ministers to turn over their financial records to the Senate amid allegations that they had misused church funds to enrich themselves. Televangelists rake in hundreds of millions of dollars a year in charitable donations.
Randy and Paula White of the Without Walls International Church in Tampa, Florida. Former staffers say the Whites sometimes took cash from uncounted donations, misused church funds for personal expenses, even pressured the faithful to take equity out of their home.
Somehow the church in America has been hijacked by greed. And it's very, very sad, because it's a testimony on how we are not caring for the poor in our country.
I am speaking prophetically by the Holy Spirit, and you are to sow a $3,000 seed. When you obey the voice of the Lord, and you do what God's telling you to do,
you need to send in $35,000. You need to send in that $100,000 check. I'm telling you, and God has mandated, if you do not write that P.O. box, and you do not call that toll-free number, and you do not become a ministry of sustainer, you will never see sustainment in your life, and your dream will die.
I got a phone call. He was watching Christian television, and he called up and said, "Hey, you're fantastic."
White has declined to say if she cut financial ties to her ministry, but she is already back at her church preaching and soliciting donations.
You're going to write your checks to Paula White Ministry.
So we've got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person.
Did you bring Donald Trump to Jesus?
I've laid out the gospel very clearly, and I know that Donald is saved.
But Trump says he's never asked God for forgiveness.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so.
Critics say she preaches the prosperity gospel, emphasizing material riches over spiritual ones.
To click on that donation button by minimizing the screen.
Do you tell them that if they give to you, they will get financial riches from God?
Am I going to say, I have probably said that, okay, here's when I go, my 50-year-old self wouldn't do what my 20 or 30 or 40-year-old self did.
You know, that's the principle I teach, that find your passion in life and figure out a way to make money.
Well, I think that's the key, is you have to find something that you call passion. I call you have to find something that you really love.
You know, that's the principle I teach, that find your passion in life and figure out a way to make money.
Well, I think that's the key, is you have to find something that you call passion. I call you have to find something that you really love. And if you don't find that, you've got a problem, because you're never going to be good at it, and you're never going to be happy.
Wherever I go, God rules. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. I had every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground, because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
Donald Trump and Paula White plan to build a state church. This will give life to the image of the beast. It says the mingling of the churchcraft and statecraft is represented by the iron and the clay. This union is weakening all the power of the churches. Disinvesting the church with the power of the state will bring evil results. It is plain and simple. They cannot go together. The prophecies are rapidly being fulfilled. Church and state unification won't bring freedom to religion, but oppression. We are looking at the era of the black horse from the book of Revelation.
We are witnessing the speaking as a dragon. When church and state come together, and now the church is dictating to the state what the state should enact, laws that the state should pass. Now we are seeing the same thing that happened during the Black Horse era, the compromise between church and state, this unification of church and state. Keep in mind the fourth horse, which was the pale horse, which was the era of the papacy, 538 AD to 1798 AD. What led to that era? It was that unification of church and state that led to the resurrection, or that led to the greatest persecution that God's people had ever faced on the face of this planet, which was the era of the Dark Ages. Evil result. It always ends in evil result when church and state.
All right, I will continue the part 2 of the one world religion that they're rolling in, and nobody seems to notice, which we know will end up the one world government. I know some people see it, but most don't.